What's good, Rick in here, and today I'm going to talk about why I love Craigslist. Now, this is not a promotional video, but I know it's a bit of a silly video. I wasn't really planning on making this until I came across a conversation with a friend of mine who had never used Craigslist before, and she'd never really used Facebook Marketplace or eBay before, and I thought that was kind of crazy. And today I want to talk about 3 reasons why I really, really love Craigslist. So, number 1 is cost savings. It's pretty common knowledge that most things out there, electronics, just household things, depreciate pretty quickly. Things like phones, within 6 months, are worth less than half what they were when they were new. And the same goes for a lot of household items. Things like furniture. Furniture isn't really worth much once you resell it. I bought a Vitamix, which is a really kind of powerful blender a while back. Again, for less than half of what it would have cost new. And those were all things that had pretty steep depreciation curves, because a lot of people buy these things because of human optimism that they're going to start blending every day or making soup every day or whatever it is, and never really use these things, and they sit around. And you can get some pretty much unused stuff for a fraction of what it would have cost. I think that's kind of the most obvious reason that a lot of people use Craigslist, and I think there's a lot of benefit to it. Side note, when I say Craigslist, I kind of mean Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, all that kind of stuff in general. Secondly, I think this is really important, it slows the process down. These days, it's so easy to go on Amazon and just click buy it now and have it shipped to your door the next day or in 2 days, and we're so used to that. And it almost feels transactionless, or it seems seamless, right? You don't necessarily think twice about it because within 30 seconds, by the time you've thought through the purchase, you've already purchased it, and you don't really have to do anything else. You don't have to get out of your chair, you don't have to drive to a store, you don't have to do any of that. And by using Craigslist, it kind of slows that process down. So for a lot of things, I'll set an alert on Craigslist, I'll look out on it for a few weeks, and eventually I'll pull the trigger on it. And in many cases, in those 3 weeks, in those 2 or 3 weeks, I kind of decide, maybe I don't need that. Maybe I should hold off on that. And it really slows that process down. So I think one of the benefits of Craigslist is the lack of seamlessness, the inconvenience of it, is going to cause you to think things through a little bit more. And that's one of the main reasons I really like using Craigslist, even if I could just go on Amazon and buy the same thing. And lastly, the third big reason I've fallen in love with Craigslist is the stories. The amount of times I've met interesting people, had interesting conversations, and found stories about things is more than a handful of times. And those kind of occurrences really make it worth it. A while back, I was looking to buy a washer and a dryer, and I met this gentleman, and he turns out to be the guy who managed the whole sign and road bumper division for the city of Austin. That's not the kind of person I would usually meet in my day-to-day occurrences, but he was a really interesting gentleman. We talked for a good hour or so about different things, about roads and bumpers. For example, I found out there's certain neighborhoods that are kind of more well-off and have more sports cars that actually had all their speed bumps removed because they kept hitting the lips of their sports cars. The other thing we kind of talked about was how they replace signs and that whole process. And that was just kind of a fascinating conversation I wouldn't have had otherwise. Same thing with a lot of other gadgets you might buy. You'll meet people who have stories with these things, and they'll kind of tell you why they bought it, what they did with it. And I think it's a lot more interesting than just having something that sits around and doesn't really have much story to it. So those are the 3 big reasons I really love using Craigslist and eBay to buy a lot of things. Part of it is price. Price is a huge part. Secondly, I think this is the largest part for me, is it slows down that transactional process. And lastly, you get some really interesting stories. And for me, the story is almost half of the value of an item. The best part of something you own is not just being able to say, hey, this is what it is and what it does, but also knowing the full story behind it. I think that's really exciting, and being able to kind of share in that story. So I know that's kind of a quick, silly video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Leave a comment below. Do you use Craigslist often? Or if not, why don't you use Craigslist? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys do want to chat, feel free to drop me a message. And as always, if you guys enjoyed that video, please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.